Welcome back to Meshmen Studio. So in today's Let's Get Physical Part 2, we're gonna take a look at different IOR settings and how we can create IOR settings for the physical spec in the Renderman shader. So let's dive into it now. Yeah, so we want to create a Renderman shader and use the physical spec and see how we can make some settings for the spec. So let's create a shader here in the Renderman menu. Okay, so off the bat it doesn't have any settings for specular at all. So you can see here the specular mode is artistic, but the face and edge color is set to black. We want to switch this over to physical, and there's going to be no difference. So the physical spec is expecting the edge color. So if we set this to 1 here, for example, we can see that we get a specular there. So yeah, that's fine. And we have a refraction index. Let's set this to ACES CG, for example. Refraction index, we have a 1.5 here. And the extinction coefficient. So I actually made a tutorial about the Renderman, the physical spec, earlier using the Renderman for Maya. So I'm gonna do a link in the description and now in the corner as well if you want to have a refresher how to actually get all of the values, IOR, extinction, coefficient. In general, let's just create something on the fly here without any scientific. So it's expecting RGB values, this for example, and this is not so convincing, but what I do here, for example, let's demonstrate it. I create base color catalog. So if I go here to my mask shelf here and just take any of these here, for example, gold here, we can just drag it in. So what I get a collection of nodes, and it's essentially just nodes grouped together. So let's take a look here what I do here. Inside the group here, if I double click, control double click, I have the diffuse color, edge color, spec IOR, and I use scale nodes to set the different values here, extinction coefficient and the specular roughness. So if I would go out here to the main group and connect this, now I have radio transmitters here because in my template I am using radio nodes to pick up this and auto connect, so I can use it like easy to swap the material. So let's take a look here. If I now go here on the outside and connect my this one just temporarily here, diffuse color, specular, edge color, specular IR, extinction coefficient, roughness, we should get something that's kind of gold looking here. Let's go to my light, increase the light a bit, and let's take a look in one of my templates as well and see how that works, and then we can just briefly look at how we can create it. So we need the values and we need to package it in a predictable way like this. Now I want to demonstrate the use of the base color catalog in one of my templates. So in the earlier episode, I'm gonna make a link in the description, I went through how I actually use my template here for the pixel surface. Let's take a look here and just drag this template onto the material. So I reset my shader here to be the default. It's using physical spec, but it's the default settings, and I now want to hook up a material. It's gonna hook up the template and we're gonna see some shading, and in my template I actually have gold at the moment. So let's go into this material and take a look. Control double click. Here we go. So since the last episode I actually reworked my template a bit to now use radio nodes, so it's easier to house these, because you see here I have the transmitters and I also have receivers for all of the inputs that this base color catalog is defining. So if I now, for example, want to swap this material to something else, let's do that. I can delete these, this one here. Now set up another material. So let's go to my mask shelf. This is extension pack. Let's say that I want to use a aluminium. Can drag it in here and hopefully it will auto connect and set it up to all of the inputs. So let's see here, and there you go. There's the aluminium and it's set up. We can place it here so we know where it is. So essentially it's broadcasting now the diffuse color there to this radio node there. So we can actually see here, if I select this one, go to MISC, toggle radio nodes, you can see here where they are all connected. So we can toggle them off. So it's essentially just the radio node is just a way to make things a bit more tidy, and it auto connects. So yeah, there you go. Let's imagine I want to make a plastic, because if I look here, I have my masks shelf here. I have iron, aluminium, brass, copper, gold, and they are all relying on extinction coefficient in the physical spec. So this one here. I'm gonna make a plastic now, so let's take a look how we can do that. Let's rename this one cat plastic. Let's go into this one. So diffuse color, we can take just the color really. Let's make a gray plastic of some sort. Edge color, we can have it white. Spec IOR. This one is gonna be a so plastic is not really tinted, so it's, we can set 1.5 for all of them. 1.5. Extinction coefficient is gonna be 0, 0. Spec R. Let's make something like a semi-shiny plastic. This is something you can offline render it to be 100% sure exactly what look you want. In my case now, I just want a few values. So now I wanna actually save this as a plastic base color catalog, cat plastic. Select these and go to my mask shelf here. And now we wanna export these out as a base color catalog, and we select them all and we hit this button here, save the current node graph selection as a new preset, and we want to preset name dark plastic, add preset, and you can see here now we have this wrench one here, and we can actually go in here now and make a screen grab out of this plastic here. So let's go and do that. And when we set it, set preview from a snapshot. We can toggle around here until we get something that we are happy with. Take snapshot, and there you go. Dark plastic. Yeah, so now we have defined that. Now we can create materials with this preset. So whenever we want to switch now, let's say that now we want to go back here in my template to the gold one. You can drag the gold preset here, and it's going to hook up to the material, and it's ready to go. So imagine that you actually have done some work beneath this base color catalog to demonstrate why it's good to have these. Let's say that you have created a breakup for the specular roughness here. Let's say that you have this one here, and you wanna essentially create a plastic out of this material without connecting. So then you have the ability here to just delete this one, grab this plastic setup that you defined. You can just drag it in here, and we should have the same kind of look, but now with a plastic. And you see here now the plastic have the same override here for the specular roughness. Maybe you want to have a aluminium instead. You can just delete this one, drag the aluminium, and there you go. So yeah, so actually creating this from scratch. So what you can do, if you will say like, okay, I want to have a color node, you want to have maybe the specular edge. So color, spec, edge. We can have a scale for the IR values. So a scale node is RGB values. We can have two of these. Scale. So let's IR, name this one to extinction coefficient, and we want a float node for roughness, float, spec R, Okay, so we have all of these nodes and we want to make a kind of a gizmo or a group out of this. So we select them all, Control G to group them. And there you have the group here. And you can see it has have one output at the moment, so we have to remedy that. So if I open this one, I can rename it to base catalog, open it, and you can see here we have an output node here and nothing is actually connected. So this is where you create output nodes. So we can name this call, hit tab and create output, and we want to have spec edge, another output. This one we want to name IOR or index of refraction, extinction coefficient, and now we just connect, so color to this one, spec edge to that one. Essentially just connect them in the order you want them there. And now going outside, you see here we have outputs, and what I do after that, as I did here, going to a radio node, radio transmitter. So if you have a extension pack, you create a radio transmitter, you name it to something, call base cat. There you go. Whenever you have a radio node, you can connect. So you can click on it, MISC, connect to transmitter, and you see here call base cat, and that's gonna connect to that node. So if I now here go to MISC toggle radio node, you see you have a connection here, but it's just hidden. So yeah, that's essentially how you create the base color catalog and how you can use it in your material templates like I did here, to easily swap some of the base settings and also have a kind of like a preset that you can reuse within materials for the actually IOR settings and stuff like that.